Is it true that you've been designated a coward simply and purely because you drew a slip of paper marked X?
Yes, sir.
Now, there's no need for that. I know exactly what he'll tell you. Lies. He was no different from any other officer in the wardroom. They were all disloyal.
You can't handle the truth!
Court-martial movies. They're great for powerful drama. This time, we look at a genre classic from Down Under. Welcome. This channel looks at movies with a British connection. This time, we get a British star, but the Brits also play the villains in 1980's Breaker Morant. It's a significant film, important for the Australian film industry and for how many Australians see themselves in the world. We'll start with the film and how it depicts a real court-martial. We'll touch on the history behind the events, still debated to this day, and look at the work of star Edward Woodward.
Britons always loyally declaim about the way we rule the waves. Every Briton's song is just the same when singing of her soldiers brave.
Breaker Morant opens and closes with the march, Soldiers of the Queen. But the intent here isn't patriotic, but strictly ironic in a film with serious themes that include the dark side of British imperialism. The story is based on real events, the court-martial of 3 officers by the British during the Second Boer War. 2 of the men are Australians, while a third, Harry Breaker Morant, was English but had lived in Australia. The trio belonged to a tough anti-guerrilla unit. They wear jaunty uniforms with rakish hats, but there's nothing dashing about the kind of war they fight. These soldiers are hard men, and some are willing to take the harsh measure of shooting prisoners. The central focus of the trial, and the film, is who gave the orders for the killing, and was it accepted policy. At the personal level, the film mainly focuses on 2 men, Morant and Major James Thomas, the lawyer fighting to keep the accused alive. Thomas is played with passion and intelligence by Jack Thompson, whose portrayal won a Best Supporting Actor at Cannes. It's a meaty part, laced with great speeches, and Thompson lives up to the role as the Aussie backcountry lawyer who is surprisingly effective. Even Thomas's very late appointment to the case is part of the movie's dramatic appeal. As a court-martial film, Breaker Morant is a David versus Goliath tale of soldiers facing the massive weight of government and military power that can set all its own rules. In the film's version of events, the British have strong political motives in the trial, and the deck is clearly stacked against the accused. We'll touch on the realities and debates about the real case a little later. Morant himself was an accomplished but controversial figure. Born in England, he became a drifter in Australia, where he was known as a hard drinker, but also skilled at breaking wild horses, the source of his nickname. Common-born, he also claimed to be the son of a British admiral. In the film, Woodward captures the complexity of this man. He's charismatic, educated, a poet, and a good leader, but he's also hot-tempered and impulsive. The film opens with a Boer ambush leading to the death and mutilation of Morant's leader and friend, Captain Hunt. Morant is enraged by Hunt's death, and the killings he orders are depicted as reprisals.
So then, why did you order him to be shot?
It is customary during a war to kill as many of the enemy as possible.
And was your court at the trial of Visser constituted in any way like this? What rule did you shoot him under?
Like this? Oh, no, sir, no, it wasn't quite like this. No, sir, it wasn't quite so handsome. And as for rules, we didn't carry military manuals around with us. We were out on the veldt, fighting the Boer, the way he fought us. I'll tell you what rule we applied, sir. We applied Rule 303. We caught them, and we shot them under Rule 303.
The Australians on trial were Lieutenants George Witton and Peter Hancock. Witton, played by Louis Fitzgerald, is a young patriot who enlisted to support the Empire. Actor Brian Brown is very watchable as Hancock. He's a likable rogue who joined the army to escape poverty and the burdens of family life at home. The trial sequences in the film are ably handled by director Bruce Beresford. The setting is claustrophobic for the accused. It's like they're in a tight trap. The hearing room is a stark brick chamber where the defendants are confronted by the panel of judges. Beresford uses lots of tight close-ups, and the soundscape features oppressive thuds of army boots on the plain wooden floor. While part of the film's source material was a play by Kenneth Ross, Beresford opens up the film to striking landscapes, often filmed at dusk or dawn. These scenes show the war itself and actions that led to the trial. The contrast between the soldiers free in outdoor vistas and as prisoners in the cell-like courtroom is pronounced. Here, I also have to add that Beresford makes a calculated choice to have the shooting of Boers either off-screen or at great distance, which cinematically reduces the impact of their deaths. I'm against spoilers, so I won't discuss the final verdicts. But Major Thomas gives the prosecutor all he could handle, and you will discover some twists when you watch the film. Brick Morant delves into historic themes that are universal, but were of particular interest in Australia. The film showcased friction between Australia and Great Britain at a time when Australians were reassessing their connections to England and the Crown. It's not a total coincidence that just a year later, Peter Weir made Gallipoli about the costly World War I disaster involving Australian troops under British command. Our film touches on colonialism and foreign conflicts, as Britain seeks to end a costly war with a very difficult enemy. At the time of its release, this resonated with many American audiences in the aftermath of the Vietnam War. Finally, the movie examines uncomfortable realities about war, guerrilla war in particular, and what it can drive men to do. Director Beresford argues this is a key message of his film. In the Boer War, Dutch farmers in what became South Africa opposed expanding British power in a region rich with diamond and gold resources. The Boers fought a hard and frustrating war. Faced with an elusive enemy, the British resorted to burning farms and placing civilians in prison camps where thousands died of disease. At the front, the story acknowledges that Boer prisoners were shot by the accused. This is never denied. Instead, Major Thomas offers what would become known as the Nuremberg defense, that the soldiers who did the killing were simply ordinary men following orders.
The fact of the matter is that war changes men's natures. The barbarities of war are seldom committed by abnormal men. The tragedy of war is that these horrors are committed by normal men in abnormal situations.
While the movie is fairly accurate in many respects, the actual investigation was larger, looking at the shooting of more Boers and the responsibility of Captain Taylor, who appears in the film as a witness for the defense. There is some speculation that Morant's team would have been granted clemency if they testified against Taylor, which they did not do. Thanks to the film and other sources, Morant and Hancock are seen as heroes by many in Australia, leading to several calls for posthumous pardons. These requests have been strongly opposed by the descendants of the victims in South Africa and some historians. One writer noted, "Impressive research has revealed that the crimes of Morant and his associates were worse than originally thought. In today's day and age, Morant and Hancock, plus several others, would be arraigned before a war crime tribunal." It's notable that investigations began when 15 members of Morant's own unit, the Bushveld Carbineers, including an Australian Justice of the Peace, sent a letter of complaint to a British colonel. It's also notable that the trial caused the Australian Army to insist that none of their troops could ever be judged by a British court-martial again. But adding a final layer of confusion to all the controversy is the mysterious fate of the trial records. The papers were supposedly sent to London, but for over 100 years they've either been lost or suppressed, even for the Australian government. The absence of these key documents has bolstered the case for those who argue that the shooting of prisoners was sanctioned and approved by Lord Kitchener himself. At the time of this video, The fate of the trial records remains unknown. Now, let's take a quick look at star Edward Woodward, who often played rugged and self-reliant types. In private life, he already had a keen interest in history and militaria, and even hosted a program on strategic games. By the late 1960s, he'd become popular in the UK for the TV show Callan, in which he played a tough spy and assassin. It was a gritty series about the underbelly of espionage, and many episodes can be streamed on YouTube these days. I'd really recommend them. In the 1970s, he was in a disturbing thriller, The Wicker Man, and, coincidentally, appeared in the Boer War segment of Young Winston, the Churchill biopic. Globally, he became better known after Morant, and in 1985 landed his biggest role in America as the original Equalizer. Finally, Breaker Morant boosted the prestige of Australia's film industry, which had been growing throughout the 1970s. Morant was nominated for many international awards, including at Cannes, where Jack Thompson won, the Golden Globes, and the Oscars, as a nominee for Best Adapted Screenplay. The strangest honor was from the New York Film Critics, who nominated it in the Best Foreign Language Film category. Well, as always, thanks for watching. I hope you found most of that of interest. This title was requested, and I certainly hope I did justice in condensing some very contentious and complicated history. I do invite you to comment about it and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I hope to welcome you back again soon to Waltz, Flicks, Picks.